Mr. Speaker, and I want to thank the New Democratic Party for the opposition motion today. But I'm hoping for something that probably isn't possible, Mr. Speaker. That is, if we could take some of the partisanship out of this motion and look at it as a deeply generic problem of every government in this country, provincial and federal, regardless of who is in the PMO, that corporate lobbies have too much influence. There's an excellent book by the former leader of the Alberta Liberal Party. His name is Kevin Taft, and his book is called Oil's Deep State, in which he chronicles how it was that even with the change of government in Alberta, the control over government policy, and particularly energy policy, was deeply held by big oil. And the term is used by academics a lot, the problem of captive regulators. So I would say that the National Energy Board is captive to the industry they regulate. And so is Health Canada, quite captive to big pharma. You could go issue by issue, department by department. So I'd like to ask my honourable colleague if he thinks we could elevate this debate by looking at the problem generically and not targeting just one party, because I would put to you that it's endemic.
Member for Elmwood-Transcona.
What I would say is, I think the point that the honourable member is raising that I'm sympathetic to is that power doesn't just reside in the halls of government. The power of capital, the power of people with money is very real. It's real power. The power of people who employ other people is real power as well. And so any government of the day only has its hands on the levers of so much power. But the question, and what I'm trying to get to by noticing a pattern of behavior in this government, just as there was a pattern of behavior in the previous government, and there have only been two parties ever in power in Canada, is that when it comes to those levers of power that you can get democratically through elections and democratically elected governments are just some of them, which is why it's so important that you have people who control those levers that are there to fight for the right causes and to fight for the interests of everyday Canadians instead of acquiescing to the demands of corporate Canada. And there's no guarantee of success in those things because not all the power resides here. So I do take the point, but I think if we want to talk about how we fix that problem, surely part of that, and I imagine that's why the honourable member has decided to run for politics as well, is to replace people who are too beholden to those interests and don't see the conflict of interest between corporate Canada's interests sometimes and the interests of everyday working Canadians. And that's the other point that I think is very important to address in this debate. So I don't apologize for spending time on it, Mr. Speaker.